Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for gathering here today for this evening's program based on Khadi Design, local craft to global business. Before we start the program, I'd make a small request. બધાને please તમારા ફોન સાયલેન્ટ પર રાખજો અને ઇન બિટવીન સ્ક્રોલિંગ ના ચાલુ રાખતા કારણ કે અવાજ બહુ બોધરિંગ હોય છે જે રીલ્સનો આવતો હોય છે સ્પેશિયલી એ અને આવતો જ હોય છે ઓલવેઝ so if we are able to control that, that'd be great. Today we are having this evening speakers, Miss Shailini Sheth Amin. She's a founder and senior partner at Moral Fibre. And Miss Rajvi Parikh, founder and principal designer at Rang by Rajvi. I would like to take this opportunity and facilitate both of them. And just a side note, the gifts that I just gave out, it's a AMA logo kind of associated with Matani Pachedi motif. So at this point of time, we are also getting involved with a lot of arts and traditionally lot of things that are happening in Gujarat. આર્ટની લઈને કે જે માતાની પછાડી છે બહુ જૂનું આર્ટ ફોર્મ છે એની સાથે અમે ઇન્કોર્પોરેટ કરી રહ્યા છે ઘણી બધી વસ્તુઓ અહીંયા અને દેટ ઇઝ વોટ આઈ જસ્ટ ગેવ આઉટ to start the evening, I'll give a little introduction of Shailini Ben and then I'll invite her to give her talk. Ms. Shailini Sheth Amin is a sustainable fashion entrepreneur, architect, and financial consultant, and the founder and senior partner of Moral Fibre, a design-led enterprise campaigning handcrafted khadi and natural fiber textiles. With over 8 years of experience, she works closely with artisan communities across India, supporting more than 2,500 artisans, primarily women, through ethical design, dyeing, printing, and tailoring for domestic and global markets. An award-winning speaker and published author, Shailini Ben is also the director of Moral Thread Foundation, driving community development and craft preservation, and is committed to reinventing khadi as a low-carbon, fair trade fabric of the future. Shailini Ben, if you can please. Thank you.
Hello and namaste everyone. I want to start with exploring a number. I have a piece of cloth in front of me and I wanted to find out, or I wanted to ask how much electricity or energy, artificial energy is required to make this piece of fabric. How many percentage, how many watts, would anybody know? Generally, this is a khadi fabric, and if it is measured against mill fabric, only 9% of electricity gets used in making a khadi. And it does not pollute the environment and it supports the community. So, in the era where fashion conglomeration is spending millions for carbon credits and net zero marketing, there is a sector in India that has been operating on zero carbon footprint for centuries. But here is a professional paradox. Despite having the world's most sustainable supply chain for decades, this fabric is generally relegated to souvenir and politicians' uniform. Khadi is the ultimate local craft that is suffering from global identity crisis. So today I'm going to explain why that is there and find ways of possibilities of changing it. As it was said, I'm an architect and an NRI and deeply rooted to the values of the defined Khadi movement that refuses to take a backseat. I'm also a founder and senior partner, as it was said. Khadi is not as considered to be a hobby or a charity. We are going to look at the global business case study. We will explore how to take the decentralized artisan-led product and position it on a high-speed digital global market without losing its soul. The origin of this fabric goes long way back. The history of fabrics of India is made of glorious stories of craft communities, their combined knowledge and expertise, which was converted into thriving trade. For generations, hand-spun, hand-woven, hand-dyed, hand-block printed, and processed fabrics were the third pillar of rural economy after farming and animal husbandry. Cotton was grown in many regions in fallow land. It was mostly rain-fed, no extra water, no chemicals, no pesticides. Each region and each community of India had their own way of wearing their clothes. These diverse needs were met by thousands of local artisans and earned regular income out of that. Some adventurous traders took these fabrics to faraway lands. The skills acquired knowledge from generations and working and adapting to a growing trade brought them immense prosperity. The wealth got distributed in the rural households. This was one of the reasons why India was called Sone ki Chidiya. This fabric, as we called Khadi, which was it? It was like India was truly a kind of a Silicon Valley at that of now, because the fabric making was very complex. Its production was difficult, and marketing was even bigger. But in spite of all that, India was a textile hub of the world. So that was the context that, and all fabrics at that time, before the mills came, everything was handspun and handwoven. So we call it Khadi now, but that is something that has a very, very long history and long connection with our skills. The next wave of textile history was created by Mahatma Gandhi, which is almost a spiritual story of handspun, handwoven cotton yarn. This, as we all know, was the protest of killing of our prosperous textile trade by heavy taxation. England made and mill-made cloth was promoted instead of our local textiles and the textile market. Thousands of people participated in this peaceful protest by adopting to hand spinning and wearing clothes made only from khadi and nothing else. Khadi became a symbol of a national movement of Swatantra, Swavlamban, Swabhiman, and Samanta. Mahatma Gandhi, for the first time, made people of India and the rest of the world aware of the ethical side of what one wears. Khadi production was one of the earliest examples of fair trade, and it can also be seen as a victory of handmade over the mill-made. Now come to today. And the new Khadi story is truly a global story. It's about saving the environment from pollution and depletion and saving people from poverty and creating fair, sustainable, and circular economy. We are making a concerted effort to revive and give new identity to this home-based craft. We are contributor to its reinvention, innovation, design, technology, and promotion, and the artisan-led production offers low-energy manufacturing footprint. Khadi fabrics are made from 100% natural materials, totally biodegradable. They're energized by hands rather than electricity. Compared to the mill-made fabric, as I said, it just takes about 9% electricity. And a meter of Khadi fabric consumes making of the Khadi takes 3 liters of water, while the mill-made fabrics takes 55 liters. Use of organic cotton and natural dyes further reduces the negative impact of the environment. So, for the future of Khadi, where do we stand? We believe that Khadi is as much people's fabric as it is best valued as a modern aesthetic and sustainable luxury. It is moving from opulence to responsibility and conscious consumption. it takes the center stage because of the conscious consumption is becoming more and more thought about, talked about, and evaluated. India is becoming one of the foremost producers and consumers of fashion. Consumers are choosing locally sourced materials, supporting artisan communities, and advocating the social responsibility initiative. Beyond label, now authenticity matters. Brands that weave sustainability into their core values, share their journey transparently, and actively engage with the social causes gain a lasting trust and loyalty. I think the best example is the Ambani wedding and how local crafts have been promoted for everything. And that had the biggest value statement than anything else that mattered. And I think those kind of examples, I'm not just saying them, but so many of these examples become a kind of a measure or a aspirational sort of initiatives that really support the sustainability movement and conscious consumption movement. Luxury is no longer just about owning beautiful, expensive things. It is about owning your choices that makes positive impact. With the innovation and design input, khadi is made with with 200 counts, really the softest, like muslin or fine linen, and up to 25 counts where it is a thick fabric which can be used for furnishing and jackets and all of that. In between, the silk blends and denims, and the possibilities are many, and the innovation in that field keeps on happening. Now, look at the global pivot of what is happening in the fashion world. Clothing and fashion are the most heavily marketed commodity. Through massive advertisement, fashion shows, and seasonal sales with mindless offers. Worldwide, people are now brainwashed into buying 400% more clothes than only 2 decades ago. The volume and speed at which we are producing clothes, and that too at a very cheaply, is many times a violation of human rights and exploitation of poor workers. By using too much water, using harmful chemical, in fertilizer, pesticide, and in processes, we pollute our soil, air, and our rivers. We use up our finite resources like oil to make synthetic fabrics. Fashion industry is destroying our ecosystem and our planet, and a large percentage of the clothes go into the landfill within a year. And this is considered irresponsible, unsustainable, and downright criminal. Khadi and its values are the ones that can show us the way of going away from it, or at least giving us an alternative. So our challenge is, how do we position khadi on the world stage and achieve that? I believe our greatest challenges are not the market, but I think they are the systems. In spite of some claims being made by media and national ecosystem for khadi fields, khadi gets the unfavorable responses at times. KVIC, Khadi and Village Industry Commission, the nodal body, has helped keep the cooperatives alive, and khadi production is ongoing. KVIC, with the trademarks and licenses, khadi, many times turn a blind eye to the counterfeit khadi. So, in spite of doing all the effort, we have been finding that it's not going far enough. Allowing the authenticity and integrity we fight for gets diluted and destroyed. The required R&D, design input, expert involvement in global promotion, marketing, and penetration in the cooperative centers are badly missing. The gap between the grand intent and the weak enforcements becomes a reality many times. Adequacies in the systems are that khadi centers lack the climate change orientation, which should be probably on the center of it all, and not which is not conducive to the world market. Like one of the things, or one of the most important line that they could have is a localized farm to fabric self-contained units near the cotton growing areas would really, really help. And also each unit can create their own USP in production. It could be the unique fabric or the clothes or the jackets or bags or accessories. that each cooperative would have their own identity that would really help um, creating a unique niche for each product and each cooperative. Solar charkha, looms, and other tools that can help make the product more internationally unique and special. That has to be done. So all these things are something that would really change the complexion of the whole khadi industry. We at one stage wanted to start with setting up 5 units in Gujarat with this thought in mind. We call that as a creative manufacturing initiative. And it would be a kind of a single point of call with to help big serious buyers like IKEA and others to come down to khadi manufacturing units or the creative producing units and give them help, support, and regular orders. So that would be one of the ways of looking at it, that really having a unique identity of each cooperative with its own products and its own structure around it. Global demand for this kind of a creative, sustainably good are valued at $400 billion annually, and it's growing in double digits, creating a huge opportunities. So the opportunities are there. It's for us to see where we go. Market-driven creative manufacturing businesses like Khadi can be a decisive force to scale up, create employment, ultimately creating a new, gentler capitalism for more purposeful lives. It is achieved with relatively frugal capital expenditure. India, we are still so lucky. I would call it lucky, and I think everybody else would agree with that. India has more than 1,400 large textile companies and around 1.5 million smaller units. Many of them are artisan-based production, strong, effective policy decisions giving financial and other incentives to low-carbon heritage craft. As one of our climate activist, Prasanna ji, had said, these are sacred economies and they have to be loved and respected and being valued. These are a valuable contribution to the circularity of low carbon future to the rest of the world. But the reality sometimes is different. Our handloom craftspeople are heroes of sustainability. They use local fibers, natural dyes, human skills over polluting machinery. Their work already reduces emission, yet they are not automatically recognized with carbon credit. It is the slogan "Vocal for Local." So, if they have to have a soul there are measurable incentives they should be given, so that they are already dedicating their lives to building this kind of a economy, earth-friendly economy, grassroots economy, and they don't seem to be getting recognized. So we ask for a handout. We don't ask for a handout, but just the justice and recognition to these artisans. At a global level, we expect that the governments and big conglomeration will do something about it, and we are completely mistaken. At a global level, climate change and carbon emission limits are mired in greed, egos, leading to blame game and inaction. And the last few years with the wars in Europe and Middle East are completely overturned the whole plans of accounting the climate footprint or climate change initiatives are completely gone to dust, I think. The amount of destruction, use of deadly warfare, and carbon emissions have made a total mockery of this whole guideline. Having said that, a lot of very small and good measures are taken worldwide, mainly by less wealthy countries, small businesses, organizations, and by people with changed mindset and self-belief. So Earth Positive Rebel of Khadi is alive and going, which is held by all these small artisans and small people. And this is a true soul of Khadi, and I think soul of India. So that's my talk. So what is the, shall I do the Q&A or you want to do it together afterwards? No, we'll do it together. Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
जी Thank you so much, ma'am. And now I'd give a little introduction of Rajvi Parikh. Rajvi ma'am is the founder and principal designer of Rang by Rajvi, an Ahmedabad-based label grounded in zero-waste design philosophy. A NIFT graduate and expert pattern maker, she works closely with artisan communities across India, particularly with handwoven and natural textiles like Kala cotton from Kutch. Her design language emphasizes minimal intervention, uncut patterns, fabric led silhouettes, and circular thinking, driving inspiration from origami, traditional drapes, and Indian heritage textiles. Through her work, Rajvi advocates conscious consumption, sustainable livelihoods, and clothing as a timeless, responsible relationship rather than a seasonal trend. Ms. Rajvi, please. Uh, Got it? Okay.
This is not up. Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here. Um, what I offer here today is my thoughts on Khadi and handloom in the context of sustainable and global business opportunities. So, Khadi goes down in history, but today I want it to be a design conversation about how traditional intelligence can become a contemporary and sustainable business without losing its soul. We often talk about fashion as glamour, as newness, as fun. And then we also talk about fashion as damage, waste, and exploitation. Rightfully so, as yes, fashion today is one of the highest polluters in the world. But today, what if we ask a different question? What if clothing could give back to people, to culture, and to our planet? Can we return to the aspired circular system? And what if one of the strongest answers to that question has been with us all along in our traditional handloom system, Khadi? This is not a talk about nostalgia, nor a talk about revival. It's a design conversation that can lead to business possibilities and positioning. What if fashion did not begin with trends, but with textiles? What if design started not with forecasting, but with fiber, structure, and human skill? When we reframe fashion through design, handloom stops being a legacy issue and starts becoming a design opportunity. India's Khadi and village industries recently reported a record turnover of 1.5 lakh crore in 2025. This, of course, is the FMCG products offering. The Khadi sales increased by over 500% in the last decade, from 1,000 crore to almost 6,500 crore. So the question is no longer whether Khadi can survive. The question is, how will Khadi evolve? Hi, I'm Rajvi Parikh. I'm based in Ahmedabad as a designer and a pattern maker. I trained at NIFT, and my work today is almost entirely around handwoven and natural fabrics, especially Kala cotton. I work closely with artisan communities in Kutch and other craft regions. My practice is rooted in zero waste design, not as a technique or a trend, but as a way of thinking, a way of asking better questions before we make anything at all. The questions about design and quality, of market, of value addition, and of respect for the craft and of people involved. What I offer here today is my perspective as a design person and as a thought process. Handloom and especially Khadi are often spoken about as heritage, as something preserved, as something behind us. But handloom is actually a living design knowledge with generations of thinking about fiber, about climate, about the human body, and about culture. What we call tradition is a long-term design research. Working with handlooms is more about learning, and today this intelligence is becoming newly relevant. Textile first thinking is not anti-market. It simply means that fabric arrives before the idea. Most conventional fashion works with a concept of a trend, a sketch, a fabric, and a factory. Textile first thinking takes you reverse to a fiber, a loom, a hand, a design, and a market. It reduces waste, it increases uniqueness, and it creates strong product differentiation, which is exactly what the global markets are responding to today. Here, the fabric becomes the brief, the loom width defines proportion, the grain defines the fall, and the constraint defines creativity. This does not reduce design, it sharpens it. Khadi and handloom weavers have always worked within limits of season, of technique, and locality. But these limits are not restrictions, these are design frameworks. Within them, decisions are precise, materials are respected, and processes are intentional. When craft is treated as a collaborator rather than a resource, local knowledge transforms into contemporary innovation. Handloom then is not something to preserve, it is something to think with. Today, Khadi and handloom are no longer only cultural symbols. They are economic forces. India is the top exporter of Khadi alone, have grown by 77% in the last 10 years, along with a strong demand from Japan, US, and the UK. What's important here is not just growth, but why this growth is happening. Global consumers are actively seeking authenticity, traceability, and meaning. Handloom offers all three through design. Khadi does not need to compete with fast fashion. It stands apart, as slow, as intentional, and as deeply human. Global business does not have to mean global volume, but it can mean global relevance. The handloom sector has seen a compound annual growth rate between 13 to 22% over the last decade, and the global Khadi market is projected to reach over 10,000 crore by 2027. But this growth is not coming from speed or being cost effective. It is coming from value of being irreplaceable. Handloom can scale not by erasing these inherent differences, but by amplifying the identity, the uniqueness that comes with it. Along with design intervention and market access and systems. This is how traditional craftsmanship becomes a sustainable global business today, by staying rooted in the design integrity and cultural values. Personally, for me, I often say I do not design garments. I try to design a relationship with a garment. Do we design a garment for 10 years or for 10 washes? Fast fashion teaches disposability. Handloom teaches attachment. When the garment is thoughtfully designed and made, it invites care, repair, and longevity. This is where sustainability stops being abstract and becoming personal. Craft led innovation doesn't offer shortcuts. It offers a different value system, one based on attention, restraint, and longevity. This, along with the technical finesse of garment construction, can open about many possibilities in the global context. When we understand the textile first and then design for it, clothing becomes part of the solution. Khadi began as a local act, a political act, a human act. Today it is also a design and economic act. A global design language in the making. Not by changing what Khadi is, but by finally understanding its intelligence. So if we listen closely to cloth, to craft, to the body, we may realize that design is not about making more, but about making wiser. Why it matters to you. As local domestic relevance, we India are the biggest global population in the world. Whether you are a designer, entrepreneur, policymaker, or a consumer today, the choices we make in our everyday lives for clothing are already shaping supply chains, livelihoods, a cultural memory, and our own physiology. A garment made from hand-woven fabric is like organic food for the skin. A beautiful textile purchased and cherished supports and encourages our cultural lineage. As a versatile fabric and as an industry, hand-woven textiles can generate employment and can change the Indian socio-economic landscape. All of this can make a cumulative impact. So the question is, not can Khadi scale globally? The question is, how do we scale without erasing its meaning? What will be the choices we make? That is clothing positive for me, from local craft to a global business. Thank you. So I think how Shailini Ben very nicely gave us the Khadi history and the finer nuances of how the industry represents, how the policymakers represent the entire thing. My take was a little more personal about how I approach that, yes. And so thank you for that too, yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am. With all the wonderful insight that we got today, we'd like to open the QA session. If anybody has any question, if any one would like to comment on any particular topic, please feel free.
Burjari is making so well or is so popular also. When I was in school and college, Burjari was one store I always wanted to visit. And that had all the handicrafts that Gujarat had to say about. So why can't you designers have a forum of saying that government stores are given away to few of the designers, that they can hang the clothes, which even the locals can make it popular. Like, I don't know, like one design can be like 1,000 stores it's passing on to, but that is the way that it can pass, like your designs, and still it's making popular to the local people.
It's very sad. Not just Gurjari, we had Navdeep, which was an amazingly beautiful Khadi shop. And this is one of the as I was talking about all the policy is the biggest hurdle, I think, that there has to be responsible, sensitive people coming in that position, giving them funding, giving them opportunities, and sometimes all that gets, with all high ideals, finally it all gets into corporate, government, corporate hands, and people with a vision never really are involved. I mean, I've been struggling with KBIC. I'd been with KBIC I was involved with KBIC and Khadi for a long time. We've been giving suggestions. They keep on asking us, oh, why don't you send something? And those letters and suggestions, I think, go into their file, never to be seen again. And people about the exports, we have been exporting in 18 different countries, and they keep on asking, how do you do the exports? What do we do? When we give the suggestions, it's just their corporate thinking, the way it is there. And I completely agree with you that we had those opportunities, or even we can create new opportunities. But somehow sloganism happens, but action is sometimes on the ground is very unsatisfactory, according to me.
Now I think my brain is getting really fast on this. So it's like, I'm thinking like we have the circles given away to the corporates, like the crossroads, to privately given away by them. So why not the corporate has a sustainable dressing for their own staff members? I don't know. It can work or not. But that's the way that the handloom can be promoted. I don't know which way, but it's really now churning very loud.
I think sorry, rightfully pointed, and how we bring it into a daily system. So it's also going to be about access and about systems and about policymakers. If we look at Gurjari per se, so the memories that you have of Gurjari was a time when it was design led. No longer, right? So now it is led by government officials who are maybe not design trained. So the sensitivity to a craftsperson, to their knowledge, to their craft, and to the quality, and to what needs, how they need to be compensated, all of it needs to be addressed. Also as policymakers, and very importantly also as consumers today, we need to be very careful of what we actually buy. How do we negotiate? What do we want to purchase? Whatever we are going to purchase, it's going to create a circle of what is in demand. What is in demand is going to be produced. What is not in demand will be going out of the system. So the onus today is also on the consumer in every which way. If a corporate is going to decide my staff's uniform is going to be this, so he's taking a good decision as a consumer, right? And I'd just like to say and add on to that like I mentioned earlier, that if you've eaten organic food, you enjoyed that, but you don't really know the difference. The same is with a khadi fabric, a hand-woven fabric. You have to wear it to know the difference. You can't really point it out. So the onus is on us.
Yeah, I have a question. So basically, I think khadi has been portrayed as a poor man's fabric since ages, right? As designers or as consumers, how do we, lose that tag for khadi? It's difficult, because I as a consumer also try my best. Try wear, as you know, khadi fabrics, khadi dresses, outfits. But at the same time, sometimes I feel that, I'm looked down upon if I'm wearing a khadi dress. Though it doesn't really matter to me, but it happens.
Right. So it is again the societal norm right now, which all of us as consumers, as individuals, as people of the next generation, we'll have to be very careful and confident about. So, and that confidence and clarity of thought will bring about a trickle effect around us. Today, khadi is not every man's fabric, frankly. So many times as a designer, I would feel that why is not every person in the room wearing khadi? Even why are the people who come and help us in our households or in our offices, why are they not wearing khadi if it's a common man's fabric? Because it's not accessible, it's not affordable, right? It's not affordable. So the yes, so that is the colonization of our mind that we need to let go of, or we need to get real as to what we are and what our legacy is. So khadi is a legacy, what we uphold to. If it's a expensive Banarasi saris of 1 lakh or 2 lakh or 3 lakh that we are going to uphold to, a fabric which is even a 300 rupee meter fabric, if you look back at the process, is no different than a brocade fabric. If you go out in the looms, you will get tears in your eyes when you see the number of processes that goes into making a fabric, and that is true legacy, right? That is the real culture and the craft and the art behind what is available to us as in India.
So like Banarsi and
I was
Chandni.
going to add to that.
Yeah.
Couple of times I had very interesting discussions with other designers and about khadi and future of khadi and all that. And when we were talking, I think one of the points that came out very, very clearly, that khadi has to be repositioned. It's kind of falling between many stools. On one side, it is considered to be because of the rebate and all that, the image is that it is poor people's khadi and it is something to be bought cheaply. On the other side, khadi is actually more expensive because there's so many, it solves so many problems. It solves the pollution problem, it solves the employment problem, it keeps the villagers in the villages, in a migration problem, it creates the saving of, so it really, really helps building up so many other bridges and so many other requirements, which the mill fabric doesn't do, because everything, then all the pollution falls onto the community to resolve. The unemployment has for the community to resolve, or the quality, the polyester used, the skin problem, it's all for the community to resolve. While here, all this is actually, it responds to, and that's why the value is more. But the perception is that khadi should be cheap. So what we are trying to do now is that we are trying to build an image as a khadi as a luxury, sustainable luxury for conscious consumers. And I think maybe that, to me, that looks like a way forward. And there are lots of designers that when I was talking to, they all said that you're falling because the fact that you're falling off all the stools is because you are not defining khadi for its position. If I want my khadi to be promoted internationally, it has to have that kind of a presence. It has to have that kind of an understanding, that kind of positioning.
And awareness.
And then the awareness will come. But the positioning is extremely important. That, this is why, and very crudely, I gave an example of Ambani's and all that, or big people. And now it is becoming a kind of a aspirational statement. Unless khadi becomes aspirational for people, they are not going to accept that. Or they're not going to accept that the khadi being this valuable, but you put value to it. Because values are for us to put on anything that we do. So those values have to be transformed into the fabric and the quality and everything that khadi stands for. So I think that is where the aspirational side of khadi has to be brought to light and exposed. That's my suggestion.
So what
Yes.
I'd like to add one point here is that a customer is not going to go out to want to buy khadi. The customer is wanting to go out to buy a nice piece of garment, or a nice piece of a textile, or a fabric, or a sari. Now, how that comes about is what is the conscience and the thought process that has to happen at the design stage. If you go to a store to buy a particular thing, you have in your subconscious that this is the value you will get in whatever product you are going to purchase, right? So ultimately, it has to come down to that, and also with right design interventions. It's very important right now to mix the right design interventions and create a product that uh, that is correct for the requirements of the consumer. Like what you rightly expressed, that if you're wearing a khadi garment to a place and maybe you're feeling out of place, right? So, how do we create products and textiles which are very possible with the kind of lineage and the expertise we have in our handlooms? So, the onus is on designers, on handloom manufacturers, on the weavers, on the sector to support and encourage that. And that is what the global customer is coming here for, to India.
Yes.
There
We
is a
need to
gap
fill
for
that
sure.
gap. We need to fill that
But that's
gap.
an opportunity. Let's see it as an opportunity.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is something that we need to work on.
Yeah.
Yes, somebody else.
Yeah, since my childhood, I'd seen my dadi wearing particular khadi sari, and that type of sari, I mean that quality of sari and khadi is not available right now. So, may I ask a reason why?
I have exactly the same story. My Masi used to wear amazingly beautiful sari, Andhra saris with fantastic borders.
Yeah,
I go to
exactly.
Andhra Pradesh looking for those saris. The demand is gone, the makers are gone, and everything. And it really chokes me to say that the khadis that I've seen in those days are no more available. And that is why whatever is here, we need to salvage, we need to recognize. It's again the demand. It's demand that we have to create, or the government has to create. I also believe, sometimes the onus is always given to us, but I also believe that the policymakers have a lot to answer for. They have to really make those things accessible, open, and if there are no opportunities given, like places like Gurjari and those things are shut down, there is no place for us to buy it. So
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
those things are not just our responsibility, but also we should be pressurizing in whatever way for the policies to change, because they can make big. If there is a political will, it can make a huge impact and much faster than all of us trying to promote it. Of course, we have to do that, but that work is also extremely important. So we have to be a kind of a uh, um, we have to make enough noise about change of the policy and create the political will as well, so that Navdeep and Gurjaris or more of that are open. We go and buy it, because if it is not available, how are we going to buy it? If
Yeah,
the
exactly.
place is there, opportunities are there, then you can buy it, showcase it, and more people would buy it and do that as well.
And
But
of
this is,
course,
I completely agree with. I mean, my side story is same as yours.
and of course, the demand is also there because of people like me and you keep looking for some things.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I felt so bad. I had tears in my eyes when I went to Andhra. I was looking for those saris,
yeah,
and there's nobody's making it.
yeah,
The catch here also is that your grandmom used to wear them every day.
yeah, yeah.
Are you going to wear them every day? What is the
Definitely,
quantum?
in one or the other way, suppose not in the form of the sari, but I can wear it in the form of a dress.
Yes, but what is the
Yeah, but
quantum that one will require today? And
yeah,
also, we should not ignore the cultural and the geographical climate changes also that come with. A handloom product is a cotton yarn ultimately is grown in different sectors, in different climates. So, all that is also going to affect our memories. So, I think whatever we have on hand, a big thing here is also to understand that we'll have to save what we already have and respect and really treat those as luxury pieces that we have, which may or may not find again. Even though policies come into place at times, but these factors will come into play. No doubt the policymakers are the key in India who will need to bring this about as goodwill and good intention, and then support our weavers, right?
I mean, Khadi doesn't have a tagline with it. Like anywhere you go, everyone wants to wear linen. That is also an expensive cloth. But it has been promoted very well. So, like the whole world knows it, even we know it that okay, I'm going to buy linen, it's going to be expensive. Khadi has been missing that tagline. Like, I don't know.
That's exactly what I said. That Khadi is suffering from image crisis. And the only way we can change it is to move from that to a conscious luxury product. And of course, we need to design stuff like that. There should be such a wow value that people would buy it and really be proud of
And I
it.
think the name. You need to focus more on the name. You know, the branding, Khadi, Khadi. You know,
We-
it's like
we- we-
linen
we-
we have been heard and we are.
Sorry,
into
I'm
it
not
now.
trying to plug, but we always say moral fiber fabric, and we say moral fiber energized by hand, and somehow that creates a different kind of a. The other thing I think that I found that people are really not being able to disconnect the contemporary context of khadi with what Gandhiji said, and so it was kind of it is still seen as a kind of an emotional response rather than the quality response, and those kind of connections sometimes they need to be changed. We need to see that. So that's why we have always connected khadi with environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and supporting people and an amazing fabric. And that is probably the way forward, rather than looking at backward and looking at khadi as an emotional thing. So yes.
Mainly this Khadi word itself is associated with the ancient people or politicians or religion. So that Gen Z change has to be garments designed by Khadi should be like vibrant colors and all these festive garments. Sorry. So that will change some tagline.
I mean, you see the fabrics that she does or we do, and that will change your mind. But anyway, yeah, the colors are there, and maybe there should be we should say khadi part 3 or something like that, which is a completely new concept that is being developed.
I would like to share one thing. My grandfather was the deputy mayor of Ahmedabad years before,
Yes.
and he was a khadi dhari. And my mother and my father both are doctors, so it was kind of prefixed in their mind that the uniform in the hospital has to be a khadi sari. So my mother, during the entire gynec period of hers, she was wearing a khadi sari as a compulsion, and she also promoted that in for others working in the hospital. And I think my dad and everybody used to wear khadi for a lot of occasions because my grandfather had kind of promoted or fixated, I don't know how, but it used to be that one of the things that used to happen when I was a child. So that was the only memory I have of khadi, and then it suddenly disappeared after my parents got retired and
Yeah.
everything. So I really would want to see further.
Yeah, I think-
This can be done again in hospitals or anywhere, like as a compulsion or something, as a uniform.
That
Just
came
like,
about as a belief system.
yeah,
That came about as a belief system.
correct.
Right? It's a confidence and a belief system in what is inherently yours.
Correct.
And that's how you want to just be with it. It's not about adapting, it is just who you are. So that is where it came from. And also to answer your question, the reason khadi feels cheap today, one reason also I feel is, maybe it's very personal, but the khadi gram udyogs, to answer your question sir also, the khadi gram udyogs, we have enough of those everywhere, but the quality of products, the garments that they put up give you an impression of not a greatly crafted product. So ultimately what happens is that the impression that you take back is that, oh, this is accessible, oh, this is available, oh, this is available at this rate and this quality. I will not say that the rates need to be higher. A khadi gram udyog should have fantastic clothing, one that everybody wants as a souvenir for sure. I have personally tried and spoken that allow me to design for you, allow me to give you a proper pattern of a design or a cut, and if you can elevate your look. But again, the policy makers come into play as to how all this can be addressed for a
People in the
effective
khadi
scale. Yes.
cooperatives and the whole of the middle. When I started working with khadi in 10, 15 years ago, my experience was that I came from England at the time and I'd seen the fair trade and I've grown up. Like my Masi was a freedom fighter. one of the khadi shops was set up by her. So I had that in my DNA. But when I started working, I realized that those people were decades behind in their thinking. We live in India. It is possible to live in different decades. You know, and they just their thinking was different, their approach was different, and I don't think that has changed that much. So the people who are in it, and there is not it's so incestuous in a certain way. There are not external influences like Rajvi said. We all said that we're going to design for you, but there is no response. So actually, those units are in that situation, and we try to come out of it. But these are the systems. Gentlemen, you have been trying to.
Now, I have a question. We always address things from the tip of the iceberg, looking at policies, corporates, and etc. I want to go beneath the iceberg, and I want to connect two things or a couple of parameters. One is you mentioned about unemployment to employment, the employment prospects and possibilities. The other thing, another dimension which comes to my mind is people with disabilities, people who are neurodivergent or people having different kinds of disabilities. Now, is there anybody or any organization or any society or any initiative which is happening where people with disabilities are working from home with that kind of a charkha and doing something, and the processes? I'm not a technical person, but is that a possibility where a person with disability who's not able to take up a regular 9 to 5 job, who's not able to go into the corporate sector, they can get into groups, or with their family support they can get into weaving or whatever processes are involved, and it becomes a source of livelihood for them in some way or the other? If somebody is doing it, please let me know. Thank you.
Fantastic thought, and I mean, it's a great idea, and also there are so many other ideas. Like you will be surprised. On one side, when we go to these cooperatives, they keep on saying that there are not enough spinners that we find, or there are not enough weavers that we find, because now there's so many other job opportunities and all of that, so they go somewhere else. And many times I said that, well, why do you work with the same group of people? They have come up in their life. Now go to the lower strata. Go to the women who are widows or who have financial difficulties and all that. Try to train them and but somehow, as I said, that whole structure is so, according to me, many times so rigid that they don't want to move. And again, again it's a caste system and all that, and they don't want to go into the lower caste. I mean, their village politics is so different. So not just the disabled people, but again, there are organizations who try to do a little bit of work, like the widows to get more work, or the people who lost the husband, or disabled child and all that, and women are at home and they should be doing the swimming and all that. But somehow, it's not becoming on a bigger scale. Smaller scale, lots of experiments are happening, lots of different things are happening, but it is not getting into their mainstream, and that is my observation.
And I guess that would be a nice way to.
It has been done. It has been done. There are enough film stars ever got their fame out of all of that, but Khadi has remained the same.
It's enough done, and enough so many designers who are also selling globally. That's how we get the global numbers also. Of course, the global numbers are also through the policies and through the KVIC direct dealings about certain things through nations. But there are many designers. There's Raw Mango, there's 1111, there's Ashani Thaker, there's Sparrow, there's Eka.
But I don't think anybody promotes it as khadi.
But it is not khadi.
Khadi.
It's a beautiful hand-woven textile. Like Shailini said that they don't use the word khadi, right?
So precisely,
Yeah.
that is what.
One does not need to use the word khadi.
But why not? If you want to promote khadi, then just speak it out. Something. It's like she said, linen. Make it worthy of its value.
Yes, maybe. So yeah, that is a point taken. One could.
Yeah, that should be the brand. Khadi should be a
Khadi
brand.
is very much a brand. Khadi is very much a brand, and handcrafted fabric or something. But there is also one of the other requirement. KVIC now has Khadi word protected.
Yes.
You can't use the word Khadi
Yes.
anywhere unless you are certified.
It's you cannot. You can be sued if you use the word khadi.
You can be sued. Fab India was sued because they were promoting, they were saying that was Khadi, but they didn't have a certification.
You can write
so there are so
hand-woven.
many technical hurdles that are being created.
Also, sir, to answer your question, it's a very
I
valid
mean,
point.
I completely agree with you. That how can they do
yes,
that?
you
But that
could
is-
meet.
that is how archaic sometimes those policies are. And it is really, really sad that, it is such an upbeat thing for us to do, but these things bring us down.
Say one thing. When we were children in our school, I was a student in CN school,
So was I.
and we were used to have uniform of Khadi only.
Absolutely.
So it could be the same thing in old schools right now to have uniform of Khadi. Then that is so much of the demand for Khadi. But then Poli Khadi came over.
Exactly. And that is also KVIC policy. So they give the certification to polyvastra as Khadi. They don't want to do the quality control. So KVIC is, but I mean, so when I get very frustrated with all these policymakers and all that is because of all these things. There's so many of the dualities, so absolutely duplicity that gets followed up. So sometimes it's difficult to complain, but that is a reality.
So, sir, at Navjeevan Express, Navjeevan Press, right? They have every Sunday they have charkha weaving slot in the
Spinning
evening,
session, yeah.
spinning session. That's run by Avni Varia. Avni is here right now at the exhibit, and you could meet her. And I think she runs a fantastic initiative of how one can, because Khadi came about as being self-sustainable. What used to happen years back is that khadi was spun by yourself, it was also woven in your household, and it was biodegradable. So it was a circular fabric, sustainable fabric, right? That is why it came into the mainstream. That's why Gandhiji brought it in the mainstream of being self-sustained. So today, again, I think if all of us can, in a way, get into that system of maybe 1 hour of, it's also like meditation, so half an hour, 1 hour of, and rightly put up. So you can please meet Avni ji. She's here, and she'll be very glad to, guide you through your question. And can be very well done. Yes, I'm sure there are systems wherein you can spin and that can become a livelihood. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, and thank you, all of you. It was a wonderful session, and our exhibition continues. It's open until 8 tonight, and tomorrow also we are open from 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. So please come visit. We have some wonderful stuff, a whole lot of khadi out there. So please stop by. Thank you so much.